Tonight on the Invention Laboratory, we're going to talk about product simplicity and how it affects the product development process. Have you ever heard somebody say, "My idea is so simple. It can be made for pennies on the dollar and we can charge $49.95, $59.95. Simplicity in product development is crucial, but unfortunately, it very rarely ever happens. Some clarity is definitely needed there. The problem that your product solves is undoubtedly simple. However, how you've chosen to solve it is anything but. New inventors always neglect the fact that no company wants to make products by hand. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and it's a drain on their resources. I understand that you made this in your garage for 35 cents, for 50 cents, and used some found materials. However, a manufacturer needs to be able to mass produce every single part of your product, and the first unit needs to look exactly like the last unit that comes off the assembly line. Also, your product is going to need packaging for retail displays. Over the years, to illustrate this point to my clients, I would offer kind of some incentive and ask them to suggest a simple or everyday product, something like a ballpoint pen or a lighter or a chip clip, etc. The reason I'd have them do this is to show them an exploded view of what it takes to actually create that item. So today we're going to take a look at the infamous Bic cigarette lighter. Disposable or limited use lighters, the ones that you usually lose or throw away every few weeks, they're going to run you an average of 79 cents at the gas station or a grocery store. That product contains 12 different parts. Some have 11 if the ball is molded into the base, but each part has to be mass produced to keep the cost as low as possible. Each part is made in the thousands, and it has to be assembled for point-of-sale locations all over the world. So let's look at each part, starting at the top. If you'd like to follow along with the diagram, head over to the Invention Laboratory on either Instagram or on Facebook, and it has a full diagram for you to follow along. You can also just grab a Bic cigarette lighter as well, so you can identify each part. Number one is the guard. The guard is a metal piece that sits over the spark wheel. It's a child safety feature. The spark wheel is next. The hood. The hood is the metal piece around the top. The fork spring. The flint spring. The valve. The actual body. The base. And then finally the ball at the bottom. Now, if you'd like to see this entire manufacturing process that a Bic lighter goes through, you can head over to the Invention Laboratory on Facebook. There's a video there. The point of sharing this information is to stress the importance of simplicity in product design. The more features and benefits you add to your product, the longer and more expensive and intensive your creation process is going to become. Now, I'm not saying that your product won't eventually have advanced features, but when pitching a base model of your product to a company, the cost is everything. Also, having the ability to produce the product or technology that you're suggesting is a factor to be considered. Getting an engineer involved in the development process can help tremendously, but it usually adds a bit of shock to most inventors. The phrase, "the technology does not exist," will come back in a report more often than not. If you don't have the ability to create what you're suggesting and the engineer has no platform to spring from, you'll often get kicked back to the drawing board. A perfect example of this is the feature biodegradable. You're environmentally conscious, and that's great. You'd like to add the fact that the product should break down over time, eliminating the waste component. One word added, and it can burst your bubble. I'd like it to be made of biodegradable materials. There's a lot of materials that can give you this ability. Bamboo is a popular option in this regard, but your product also contains materials such as plastic or glass. Now we have an issue. You can certainly make a product out of recycled materials and continue in that regard, but biodegradable is an uphill battle, and it isn't quite there yet. Now, keep these things in mind when you're creating to be sure that you aren't making the process harder than it needs to be. If social responsibility and environmental precaution are important to you, seek out a manufacturer that meets those criteria. The development process is not the place to inject those values. The only thing you're looking to convey to the manufacturer at this early stage is the benefit to the end user and how you plan to solve the problem that they're experiencing. Everything else is overkill. Simple sells, and unfortunately, the process of making something simple is incredibly difficult. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Invention Laboratory. Be sure to send your questions our way and let us know how we can help you with your invention journey. Take care.